Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond BMR. I'm your host, Bigfoot Rob. Joining me, Studio B. Y'all know him, Tex. Beyond BMR goes beyond the mysteries of the world. We take a deep dive into all those rabbit holes. From Bigfoot to Dogman, UFOs, aliens, time travel, and the paranormal. How do they all come full circle? Tonight, I got Tex. If you missed Tex's Front Porch, Monday, 9 in the East, it was a great show. The Brown Springs investigation over the weekend. We're doing a little more Brown Springs here today for those of you that missed it, and a little extra. You can find us on iHeart and Odyssey Radio, Spreaker, wherever podcasts are found, including KPNL Radio. Thank you to the lovely Selene out in Oregon for that. You can find us on Texas Front Porch on YouTube, Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. And don't forget Jason McLean. Jason McLean questions everything. It's his newer channel he's got out there. So go check out Jason, who's on every Wednesday at 9. I'll get into the schedule here in just a second. Let me pull it up. Thanks once and all. Mondays is Texas Front Porch, 9 o'clock in the East. Tuesdays is Van Buren Variety. That comes on at 8 in the East. Beyond BMR, 9 o'clock in the East on Tuesdays. Also Tuesday night, Jason McLean does something called Mysterious Library on Radio AM, Untold Radio AM. That comes on at 10 in the East. Right back with Jason McLean on Wednesday with Jason McLean Questions Everything. You can see Jason at 9 o'clock in the East on Wednesdays. Thursday, brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob, 1 o'clock in the East. Later, Thursday in the evening, Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast. That comes on at 9 in the East. If you need a little bit of woo mixed in with the booze, you get them right back on Friday with the Blondes, the Booze, and the Booze at 9 o'clock. Saturdays, Infamous Minds, True Crime, Tex, Danielle Diva, fantastic show they've got going. If you're into serial killers and those infamous minds behind the murders, check out them. It's great. They've dropped 5 or 6 videos now. They're doing, I think, part 3 of the Smiley Killer Murders, I believe it is. Fascinating. Go check out Tex and Danielle on Saturdays at 3. Our buddy Jessica Jones, Spaced Out Radio, she comes on at 10 in the East on Saturday and Sunday. Go give her a listen or a view over there at Spaced Out Radio. Of course, all of the programming you can find across Texas Front Porch, BMR, and of course, the Blondes and Booze when they're on Thursdays and on Fridays. With that being said, I'm going to bring up Tex.
Howdy, folks. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Howdy, 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 Tex.
How are we?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm under the weather. I got cold chills. I don't know what it is, but I'm out waiting. I'm going to the doctor on Friday for the checkup on the knee. So I'm waiting, Tex. It's unusual. I've got a sweat hoodie on. It's 85 degrees here. Good old BMR don't wear hoodies when it's summer. Waiting for the summer to finally arrive, but it is what it is. And I'm sure you're sweltering in 92 degrees out there, but I know you got the AC probably blaring.
Oh, you know I do.
You know, you can't go without AC down south, especially where you live.
Yeah, we had enough of that this weekend. Good gosh. It wasn't even that hot, really. It was just freaking humid.
A lot of humidity. Yeah. Well, you guys get a lot of rain. Plus the rain. I don't know if it rains down there at all, but of course the rain brings in humidity.
It has been lately.
It has been.
Yeah, we got rained on Saturday when we was up there Saturday night, which was kind of welcome because it cooled things off. But more the next day, Monday, Monday, it was 80 degrees and felt like it was 500% humidity. You
No.
almost had to cut a piece of air out to breathe. It was crazy.
Oh, yeah. It does get like that here in Michigan. The humidity starts, well, it starts pretty quickly, actually. June isn't too bad. July, it's just 95 degrees and humid. But, we all bitch about, well, here in Michigan, you bitch about the weather, but when the heat comes, I welcome it. I like it much better than the cold, that's for sure. So, you had a great show Monday. Now, over the weekend, Brown Springs investigation. For those of you that missed Monday, you're going to have to go check out Tex in the archives. Tex and Brandi, that was a great show. We're kind of doing the same type thing today. Little, maybe bring something additionally to today's show. I'm gonna act like I didn't see last night's show because really yesterday I did watch it, but I was in and out doing a bunch of things. And I have to admit, my sleeping has been off with my knee. I'm up all hours, so I was dozing off. Today I fell asleep at 12. I got up like at 5, sweating. So I'd like just to start, especially for those people that didn't see it. I see a lot of newer people coming in today. Awesome to see everybody. Tex, how did that all take place? When did you get there? What day did you start? When did you leave?
Well, me and Nick went up there Friday, and we got up there Friday afternoon. Hey, Maggie, and we got camp set up and all that kind of stuff, and just kind of, bit caught up, visit, and it was, of course, I'd only had 3 or 4 hours sleep, and kind of like the way it is right now, and
Right? Yeah. Don't start
and
that, man. But yes.
so I guess it was about 10 o'clock, something like that. We decided to go ahead and hit the rack because we wanted to get plenty of rest and be ready for the next day, because that's when people were going to start rolling in and stuff. So we had our tent set up, and we were set up within less than 10 feet of each other. And the way the camp is set up or laid out or whatever, that area, on one side you've got the real thick woods, and this time of year it gets like a damn jungle down there, and that part leads down to the river. And on the other side of camp we've got this huge wild plum thicket. And when we got there and I started looking around and I noticed the plums were getting ripe, I knew we was going to have a good weekend, because that's one of the reasons we chose that campsite, because that is a natural food source. And even with them not being ripe, we've had activity down there. And I was really excited when I saw the plums were getting ripe, and they were ripe enough to eat. Nick ate a few, and a few other people did too when we was up there. But I don't know. I guess it's about 10:30. We had got laid down and everything. We were still awake. Of course, Nick didn't know I was awake. I was laying there awake, and pretty much true to I guess standard issue.
Yeah.
Standard operating procedures. The barred owls started cooking off, the coyotes started cooking off, and then you start hearing stuff walking around. Well, the things we were hearing walking around were they had some size to them, and they damn sure sounded like they were on 2 feet.
Wow. Now, okay, and this was outside of camp, Tex?
Yeah, right beside our tents.
Okay.
So we were hearing this walk around. You could hear a branch break every once in a while, like it's been stepped on, and when it got pretty intense, you could actually hear they were close enough to hear the footsteps going heel to toe. They were that close. And
Wow.
yeah, it was really something. And then at some point, they kind of rattled old Nick because they got real close to his tent,
Right.
and we were hearing this stuff, and his tent got pushed in, something like poked his tent, pushed it in right by his head, and then sniffed him. And he finally spoke up, and he's like, "Tex, is that you?" And I'm laying
Sure
there,
it
and I'm like,
is.
I'm laying there, and I'm, nope. So we laid there a little bit longer, and we got quiet again, and it kept going and kept going. Like they said, they pushed on his tent, and that's when he got kind of rattled. He was like, "Hey, y'all back
Yeah.
off." He started talking to him, and and I
Yeah.
told him, I said, don't worry about it. They ain't gonna hurt you. This is what we're here for. And he was like, "Well, y'all are getting too close. Just back off." He was talking to him, and or talking to it, them, whatever it was. We're not gonna sit here and say we know what it was. Okay, we're not gonna
Right.
do that because we didn't see
Yeah.
him.
Of course. Right.
And so that went on for quite a while. And I was really, really, my tent, I didn't have the rain fly on. He had his all buttoned up, but I didn't have the rain fly or nothing on. My windows, I don't have the standard flaps on your tent that you can close. It's just mosquito netting.
Yeah.
And so, and I did that on purpose because I was hoping that something might get curious enough and I might actually catch it peeking in at me. So at some point I fell asleep. Nick wasn't so lucky. He couldn't fall asleep with all of it going on. And which I don't blame him.
Yeah.
But
I think I'd have a problem going to sleep.
but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just used to it because I used to go down there by myself so much, and it happened all the time to me.
You know what?
And if they go ahead,
I would say this, and I don't know if I'd be more scared of not knowing what was poking at my tent like a bear. I don't know if I'd be more. I'd probably. Again, this has never happened to me, so I'm just speculating, right? But I think I'd be
right?
more wondering if it's a bear versus a Sasquatch, right? I mean, to
Yeah,
me, I'd be more afraid if it was a bear. I think if I'm thinking a
well,
bear's poking his snout around my
right,
tent,
right. And and we do have black bears down there.
right?
They're not common yet, but they are in the area. We've seen them in the area. They've been caught on game cams and that type of thing. So we can't rule that out, you know. But and it's like Nick says, in the chat. Normally they don't get up on 2 feet unless they're trying to reach something, they're trying to intimidate something, or something like that. They're going to be on four legs. But and I'm with Nick too. He said I'd be more worried about a big boar hog.
Yeah,
That's my main concern out there, honestly. Is
yeah,
the damn pigs and the crackheads. Those are my main concerns. But I mean,
yeah,
it's pitch black. The odds are that you're almost 5 miles away from anything, that you've got somebody wandering around that walked up onto your camp out in the middle of nowhere, wandering around with a flashlight, walking through the brush. That, you know,
yeah. That'd be a
hey,
little
Krista,
creepy.
if you're feeling froggy and you want to jump on, come on. Um, I really haven't had a chance to talk to Krista. And she was the one running the live when we were up in
Yeah,
Brown Spring, up in the cemetery.
yeah. Krista,
So,
Brandy's a little under the weather. Krista, if you want to come on, and I was going to ask you too before I even get started. Well, for people that don't know, who all was a part of your? I know it was you and Nick, Brandy, and who else? Jason, I think, made an appearance, and was it Senior Spikes?
Yeah, Pops was there. Pops was there. Um, Crystal J was even there. I got to
Yeah.
meet her. Uh, me and her, man, we went driving around and we absolutely had a hell of a time. I found out we're both very big nerds. Um,
Yeah.
we had a good time. We really had a good time, and I think she enjoyed herself out there. But but yeah, I mean, and then like I said, I fell asleep, and then things kept happening. Nick was awake. Hey, Scott, and hey, Barry, man, dude, I'm praying for you, brother. Um, okay, Krista. So anyway, and this is caught on audio, and he sent me the audio and everything, and I can't get it to play for some reason. I'm having problems with it downloading. I don't know what's going on, but we'll get that figured out. And we got a lot of evidence we got to go through, and something he there you can hear something. It's milling around by the campfire, or what was our campfire. You know, it went out,
Mm-hmm.
and then you hear something being dragged. Well, the next day we get up and there's a piece of our firewood that has been dragged from around the fire where the fire was over by my tent and chunked off over in the weeds.
Really?
Yeah. Now, this is not it's something that Nick had drug up from down in the brush when he's out there looking for firewood. This thing was about 8 feet long, 7, 8 feet long, about 5 inches in diameter. So, and it was come to find out, um, Ranger's son was down there with his buddies the weekend before, and they had went up to Brown Springs Cemetery. Well, several months before, um, James asked if we had any visible shadows. I did not see any shadows, but whatever this was over where it really wouldn't catch any shadows, where I could see. Um, there was a gentleman that had camped down at the bottom of the cemetery, and he was actually kind of living there, and he had groomed all the area and all this kind of stuff, and he cut
Yeah.
these limbs. There was like 5 or 6 of them, and he was using them for a pole lean-to or whatever. And anyway, the authorities came run him off. But when Ranger's son and his buddies, they found all this stuff, and these sticks were in the ground. Well, they snagged one of them because they were going to use them for a pole. Use one for a pole for a shade back at camp.
Mm-hmm.
And then they didn't want to get burned up and maybe to be out there later, so they went and hid it in the woods. Well, Nick stumbled across it while he was looking for firewood. So something, I don't know what, maybe y'all can help me figure this out. Something went and snatched that up at our camp, around our fire, and dragged it
Well, and
off
you said, and how long was this? You said again, Tex. This piece of wood was,
about 7, 8 feet long,
it
about
wasn't
five
in
inches
the,
in diameter.
yeah, but it wasn't in the fire though, right? It was outside the
No,
fire.
it was laying over there. We had it stacked over there for
Yeah,
firewood
laying
for
out. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind
And
of odd too.
I know,
Because I know
evidently they didn't. I don't know what the story is behind it. It was just added to the list of weird crap that happens when you're out there.
So let me
And
ask, when you really quickly, when you got up and looked around, you didn't see any footprints or anything like that, or just drag marks, pretty much from the
yeah,
log.
you could see where the ground is very, very hard packed right there. This is before any rain or anything. And you could see where the grass had been pushed down where something was walking. You could see where the thing had laid down. And the thing about it is, even if we hadn't found this and brought it up,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I mean, it was spread. Whatever tossed it over there or laid it down, whatever it did, was on top of the grass. The grass was bowed down underneath it, and everything else was up. But I think I'm pretty sure we got pictures of it and all that kind of good stuff. Thank you, Scott.
Yes, thank you, Scott.
What?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure that one out. The musical to help fund the new breakout album of the musical stylings of Tex and Brandi. Well, thank you, Scott, for that. We appreciate it.
So that was definitely some odd stuff going on. And then, of course, Saturday we went up to the cemetery with everybody. Everybody showed up. Yeah, Nick, I can't get it to download for some reason. I don't know what's going on with it. I'm gonna have to work with it. I need you to send me, and I'll work with you, and I need you to send me the whole video, everything you got. You know, the actual file, so I can go through it. But when we went up to the cemetery, we had a lot of weird things happen. A lot of weird things happen. We were hearing stuff that we couldn't identify, because we identified most of what we were hearing as natural or normal, however you want to look at it. But there was like one sound that we kept hearing. It was triangulating us, and it was like a moaning. And then we had stumbled across, and this is there's a few things that from this trip that really have me puzzled.
Okay.
And one is that branch being dragged. Another one is finding what we found in the cemetery, and that's that it don't make any sense that it would be a memorial, because this is an old cemetery. There's no fresh graves. There's this candle, those glass candles, and there was absolutely nothing left in it. It had been burned all completely up. And by the candle, there was 4 photographs of 2 young people, modern photographs of 2 young people, a male and a female. And then on the other side of the candle, it looked like something had been burned, like something like another photo had been burned, or a personal item had been burned, or something. So we're thinking that it's, somebody got done dirty by these folks, and somebody was trying to pull the hoodoo on them. So I don't know. It's pretty weird. Then we got
We'll link you two
Gene
really
Hudson.
quickly.
Yeah.
You go ahead, answer, Gene.
Yeah, Gene Hudson says, just wondering if that moaning started before or after I messed with the pictures. It was before. So right after we got done messing with the whatever it was, the pictures and stuff. Nick had his thermal and he caught this heat signature. And it was just like a round blob about the size of a softball, about 10 yards away.
Okay.
And it was like hovering about 6 inches off the ground. And it would
Okay.
undulate like, and Brandi came up with a perfect analogy. Like
And
a
what
bubble
color
in a
was
lava
this
lamp.
again?
Like a
Okay.
bubble in a lava lamp. And
Did you say it was orange text, or did I miss that?
no, it was a heat signature,
Heat signature.
but
Gotcha.
Nick
Okay, I
had,
gotcha. Yep,
yeah,
gotcha.
and he had the colors set on the thermal that are white and black and white. So black shows
Mhm.
up hot and white shows up
Right.
cool. And this thing was just pitch black.
Wow.
And it was just kind of sitting there and it was kind of undulating. And all of us watched it. All of us did. And so, and you couldn't see it with your naked eye. Okay, it wasn't putting out a light source. It was just a heat source. Okay, which y'all have to understand that's still a type of energy, right?
Yeah.
So I go to walk towards it, and it let me get so close, and then I guess about 10, 15 feet away. And like I said, I couldn't see this, but they were looking through the thermal telling me this.
Yes.
And it would keep a certain distance away from me. It was moving away from me as I got closer.
Okay.
And then when I turned around and walked back, it kept the same distance, but it followed me back and then stopped right where it was before. And then it started to dissipate. It started to turn, lighter gray and everything and white, and then it just eventually went away. And yeah, Nick did. Somebody mentioned last night see if we could get a comparison heat signature to a rabbit to this thing, because this was not a rabbit.
Right.
Because rabbits, I don't care if they're hopping or they're crawling, you can tell what it is,
They,
right?
yeah, and not to mention they don't just like dissipate and evaporate, right? You would see them
Exactly.
run off in the heat
Right.
with the heat
Right.
signature.
They wouldn't. It wouldn't have just its heat signature unless it died
Yeah. Well, yeah.
wouldn't dissipate. Um. So we had that happen, and then we headed back out, and then we were heading down the trail. I mean we ruined the kids' night, so of course,
Yeah.
and but we headed back down the trail, and then I really, and I wish one of them was up here, because I was way back. I was tailing Charlie. I was way back behind everybody, and I know Nick's out there in the chat, but from my understanding, if I recollect everything, and like I said, I was watching this from way far back. They heard something coming off towards them out from the side of the trail, and the it got so intense. Whatever it was big, is what they were saying, and it spooked Holly pretty bad. Nick drew his gun, and then, like I said, I'm watching all this. He's trying to direct her to shine the flashlight. He's trying to, talk to this, to whatever it was, and tell him he didn't want to shoot it and all this kind of stuff. Well, out comes this armadillo doing burnouts, just moving his this little short legs carrying, and took off down the trail. And but whatever, and I started laughing when the squatchadillo came running out. But the whatever the big thing was they could still hear it.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, and it eventually turned off and walked away. So yeah, it was I mean, that's kind of the Raiders Digest version of what
Yeah,
happened.
no, I'm kind of circling back to the heat signature, and this was in the cemetery, correct?
Uh huh.
I'm just wondering if that was. I know we're talking about cryptids and such, but where you're at, Tex, as you well know, anything goes. So I'm wondering in the cemetery areas if that was more of a spirit of a trapped soul or person. And I did want to ask you, do you find more paranormal activity in the cemetery area versus 100 yards away in your campsite where you're doing the actual oh, from the cemetery itself? Is there a difference in energies that you feel versus paranormal versus perhaps a cryptid like a Bigfoot or Dogman or whatever?
Well, we've had so much because we used to use the campsite that was pretty much across the road. It's a little bit down the road from the cemetery, but it's not very far at all. And we used to use that campsite quite a bit. The problem was we were having so much paranormal stuff happen along with what I believe was the physical creatures that we kind of wanted to see if we could get away from that
Yeah.
and separate the paranormal from the physical stuff. And that's
Yes.
why and not to mention the human traffic down there is just a lot if you're down there real close. So that's why we found this other campsite that's so far away. And this new campsite, we haven't had hardly. I don't think we've had any paranormal activity at all down there.
Okay.
It's all been physical creatures, if you ask me. So, but yeah, I agree with James. He says armadillo was probably going to be a snack. I totally agree with that. Something was chasing
Yeah.
it. And
Well,
oh
I'm
yeah,
kind
Nick
of
says
glad
don't
that
forget
you.
about them.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad too. You just mentioned because I brought up that question about Brown Springs because of all the things that have happened there. What everything's happened there, and now that you've made mention, you're trying to find a different camping area or campsite further removed from where paranormal activity is, so you can get a better judge on what it is that's happening out there. You know what I mean? So that
Right.
does make good sense. I'm glad. I didn't know that you did that, so that's good to know
Yeah,
because that's such a
we tried.
vast area, Tex.
Yeah, because I mean, and we tried moving campsites several times, and it seems like the further away we got, we were dealing with less paranormal stuff. And when we made this big jump to 4 miles down the road, I believe it pretty much got us out of that for the most part.
Yeah.
So, hey, Wendy, email me your stuff. You want a T-shirt, and I need to send you this. I need your stuff. So email me and let me know your information. Um, it it's just a it's just a bunch of weird stuff that happens out there. No matter where you're at, you've got a lot of a lot of activity of both kinds. It's like this southern skinwalker ranch type thing, and you never know from one minute to the next what you're going to be dealing with. That's why we started bringing in the paranormal groups and their equipment because it's not like you're using the paranormal equipment to look for Bigfoot, but this
Right.
paranormal stuff is happening around the same area. Almost sometimes at the same time, you're having what I think is physical creatures too, and we've been trying to figure out why. Why is this energy attracted to them, or why are they attracted to this energy, or what's going on? And I I came up with a theory
Mm-hmm.
of why we deal with so much paranormal when we're Bigfoot, when we're out there looking for Sasquatch and Bigfoot and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know. And like I said, it's just a theory. But what if the reason that the paranormal seems to be attracted to or seems to be around these physical creatures is because of their culture? Maybe they have a culture where they're more acceptant. They accept the supernatural more than we do. So it's, maybe it's their openness. Maybe they're not taught that this, you know, like us, where you're taught from a young age that, oh, ghosts ain't real, monsters aren't
Right.
real, this type of thing, you know, and maybe they're not, and so maybe they gravitate towards these areas. And I've had this thought before. Maybe they gravitate towards these areas because it is sacred ground.
Hmm.
Because we hear so much stuff about Bigfoot and Dogman being around cemeteries.
Right.
Maybe it's simply because they know it's sacred ground,
Do
and
you
maybe
think
it's
that
sacred to them.
it even spurs on the thought that, like a lot of in the cemetery area with all these unmarked graves and such,
Yeah,
we don't know how a lot of these people left the planet. A lot of us will
right,
assume maybe it was not their intention. Maybe their day came sooner than they wanted it to come. You know what I'm getting at?
right,
And
right.
maybe they're there, and maybe there are some of these cryptids in a spiritual form because maybe they are actually providing these spirits comfort and they can't get anywhere. They can't get released, and maybe they protect them from anything that might be out to harm them. Kind of like a big brother type thing, but from on a spiritual
Yeah,
level, because they know what happened.
right.
Maybe they were
And the
there.
thing
Maybe
about it
they
is,
seen it.
yeah, maybe, and maybe it's, we talk about the whole mind speak stuff. Maybe it's not Bigfoot that you're communicating with. Maybe it's this other energy speaking on behalf of the Bigfoot, but it's presenting itself as Bigfoot because you'll accept it that way. But maybe it's this other energy that is hanging around Bigfoot. I mean, I know I'm reaching here, but
Well,
it's no
it's
more of a
always
stretch than Bigfoot talking to people. That in my mind, because I don't think, I'm not saying that these people aren't experienced. They are having an experience. I just don't know what it is. And I know, um, well, and see, Duke automatically disagrees with me. No, it's the Bigfoot. How do we know it's the Bigfoot? How do how do you know it's the Bigfoot talking to you? That and I'm just looking for an answer. That's all I'm doing. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just, how do you know?
yeah. You'd like to know for yourself 100% what it is and what it
Yeah,
isn't.
and I guess I'll probably I won't know, um, or feel like I know that until I experience that myself.
Duke had
Okay, well,
a
no,
comment.
Duke says okay. Um, People who talk to them face to face verbally and then get mind speak as well. I have never talked to anybody, and I would, Duke, if you can put me in touch with somebody, please do. I want to talk to somebody that has had a conversation sitting there like me and you are right now. You know,
And like I say too, Tex, with your area itself, man, There's so much over there. I mean, I don't know of any other person. Yeah, you hear of Skinwalker Ranch. Well, that's even different. This what you've got is every sort of energy out there
Right,
because you've
right,
come
right.
across Bigfoot at the start. Hell, 2 months ago, 6 months ago, you got that awesome evidence on your truck, right? With the we that was something, right? We all are saying Bigfoot. We can't say it was 100%, but there are cryptids that roam that land. But we also know that there are spirits that roam that land as well,
Right,
right?
right, right. Good ones and bad ones, you know.
Right. So,
But and another thing, I'm going to make a lot of people mad here, and I'm not trying to, folks. I'm really not. I'm just looking for answers. Um, if you're able to have this kind of relationship with these creatures, where's the selfies? I know that's kind of a mean way to put it, but to me, you should have all kinds of evidence. If you have this kind of, relationship with these creatures, if you have that level of trust, and I know what I'm going to hear. I'm going to hear, well, that level of trust is exactly why, or they won't let us, um, do that, or that. I'm sorry, and playing the skeptic here. That's awful convenient, you know. So, like I said, I'm not saying that you're not having these experiences, but I'm out there trying. I try to back stuff up that but I know a lot of what we talk about. You have to put trust in the people that you go to listen to this stuff. Like us and Duke and if you don't, if you can't disagree with something and sit down and have a conversation about it and ask these difficult questions and actually have a conversation about it and not get all defensive about it, we're not we're going to be stuck just like we are. You know, um, and I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I'm sorry, and I've had experiences. I know these I know they exist, but my problem is dealing with the paranormal alongside these creatures. I still can't convince myself that it's not the paranormal side talking and not the physical creatures. You know?
you're obviously, yeah, you're gonna have to come across somebody and have that conversation because that's your number one hang up that you have in this entire phenomenon. I know you believe in Bigfoot and all these things. You're just still trying to the mind speak thing blows you away. I talked to Robin McCrae about mine and remember the show I had, and she told me things that my alleged Bigfoot told her that only I knew about.
Right.
And, so that was something. That was something pretty profound for me. But again, and I always say, man, and Robin tells me mine was a Bigfoot, and I know the things she told me only I would know because you didn't even know Tex. But still, when you have that actual metamorphosis thing that I go through, I'm never gonna say to anybody's face 100%. But I've got a lot of things that I've heard from other people that I know there's communication going on. And what I seen, if the fact was a true 100% Bigfoot, like Robin says, then yeah, it does go on. And,
Right.
with that being said, we all are seeking answers of different types in this genre, right? And or this subject matter. So, but let me ask you. So we're talking about you dragged the log was being dragged around. You had Nick had the at the tent. Was there any other strange happenings going on? Did you see? And you saw he had the infrared, or not the infrared, the heat seeker, heat thermal image, and then you know what else? Anything
Well,
else? So you're there for what, 3 days? Was there anything else peculiar, or this all kind of? Because I know you're disappointed you can't get that audio to play, because I know you had a lot of cool audio.
yeah, and we'll get it. We'll get it working. But I've seen a lot of people, a lot of comments and questions, and I do want to address them, folks. Because I'm really not trying to beat y'all up. I'm really not. I'm not calling you liars. I'm not saying this stuff doesn't happen the way you say it's happening. I haven't had it happen to me, and I want to understand it as best I can. When we were up in the cemetery, right in the middle of all this other stuff happening, really, I think it was, something touched Nick on the side. So I don't know what it was. It could be, and that's another thing. It can be explained away. Maybe, his gun touched him wrong, his shirt touched him wrong, or anything. But he doesn't feel like it was that, but there's no way we can prove it. It's just another odd thing that happened. And I know it sounds like I'm blowing that off when I say it's just another odd thing that happened, but y'all got to understand all the weird crap that happens up there. You just put it on a list after a while, because it just happens all the time.
Do you find that with this happening all the time really quickly, that you just kind of another walk in the park, and you kind of like blow it, like you said, like kind of just blow it off as, yeah, been there, done it, but you don't really just dive into it because you expect it, right? A lot of the time.
Yeah. I mean, you're walking around, and and I get it with people that haven't been up there a lot. They haven't dealt with this stuff a lot, but it is like that. It's like, well, okay, well, that was cool. Put it on the list. Just one more thing. And I get excited when this stuff happens. I really do. I don't sound like it right now, but I really do get excited. But I don't. I learned my lesson, I guess, about getting all excited about stuff that happens to you personally, but you had no proof of. And even stuff that happens to you that you do catch proof of, one or two things happen. You either get told you're lying, or you get told it's fake. So I understand what y'all are saying. When you come forward, you get beat up with it. That's the thing. You have to find a place that's not going to beat you up over something that happened to you. They're not going to automatically dismiss you as a liar, and that's not what I'm doing. But you've got to be. You can't bring something forward like that and not expect to be questioned about it. I don't expect any. I don't. Anything I bring forward, you've got to go into it and expect to get, skepticism. You got to.
Excuse me. Yeah, for sure. Well, you have to be skeptical of all these things.
And I think you have to be your worst skeptic. That's part of the problem.
Well, yeah.
Because, okay, perfect example is the log being drugged. I'm still trying to figure out a logical reason or normal reason that would have happened. I looked all over the place for beaver tracks, because that's the only other animal I knew that might drag a log away. But that don't make any sense. We're 300 yards from water.
Yeah.
And there's a lot there is a lot of low hanging fruit per se that he passed on the way to get this one freaking log
Yeah.
out of somebody's camp. Why would a beaver do that? That makes zero sense.
And like you even said,
Oh, she couldn't stand it. She's about look.
she
Did you see
couldn't
that look? She's like, I'm
I
fixing
resist.
to tear.
couldn't. I couldn't.
I'm
I couldn't. You know, Tex called me, and I am so sorry. I meant to be on, but let me tell you, between this weekend and that heat today at work, I thought I was dying.
I told you to go back to sleep.
I tried. I
Yeah,
tried. I
her
tried.
adrenaline, her juices got rolling. And you know what, Brandy? You came
And
on right in time to take another 5-minute nap as we're coming up
I just wanted
to
to
the
surprise everybody
5.
before break. I honestly did. I'm like,
Well, Brandy,
Well, I'm glad.
I'm kind of miffed at you for showing up because you need your sleep, but because okay, folks, I saw this girl wore smooth to the nub. Okay, she was just so,
Well,
and I called her twice on her way home. Okay, and
yeah.
the last time I called her, I could tell. By God, she's a little frustrated. She's a little tired. By God, she's cranky. She
Brandy,
didn't want to talk to
so
no.
cranky.
Look at Brandy. She's never cranky, always smiling. She's
I
always
am
chipper.
cranky. No, I get a little cranky. I think I get hangry.
Well, we all get cranky here and again. I'm even cranky because we got to take the 5-minute break and I've got
Yeah.
to pull over this little thing so I can get my ass up out of this chair and stretch my little knee. With that being said, great show. Tex going
Yeah, and
over
I want
some
to
of
address
the
this stuff when we get back. This is
Yeah, yeah, Tex has got quite a bit to say. It's been a good show, very good show with Tex here. And thanks, Brandy. And we'll be back in 5 minutes.
4 minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. 2-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Beyond BMR with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and Tex and Brandi. She's a little trooper. She woke up. She had to come out for at least the second half of the show. Thanks, Brandi, for that. Thanks to each and every single one of you for tuning in tonight. Thanks for tuning in on Mondays. It's Texas Front Porch, 9 o'clock in the East. Tuesdays, Van Buren Variety. That comes on at 8 in the East. Beyond BMR, 9 o'clock in the East. Jason McLean on Tuesday nights at 10 does something called Mysterious Library on Untold Radio AM. Go check out Jason. Right back with Jason on Wednesdays. Jason McLean questions everything, 9 o'clock in the East. Thursdays, don't forget, it's good old BMR and Krista. We do brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob on Thursdays at 1 in the East. Thursday nights, the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast, 9 in the East. Thursdays. If you need a little woo with the booze, they mix that in as well for you on Friday at 9 in the East. Check them out. Text Danielle Diva, True Crime, Infamous Minds is about serial killers, infamous serial killers, hence the name. Check them out. 3 in the East on Saturdays. Our good friend Jessica Jones, check her out always on Saturday and Sunday, Spaced Out Radio, 10 o'clock in the East. I want to thank Scott for the awesome super chat. Please subscribe. Texas Front Porch, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast, Jason McLean questions everything, and our buddy Bob Van Buren Variety. He's got a cool show. Go check him out as well. So we got an interesting show. I'm getting right at it because Uncle Robbie just took his pain pill, so I'll be getting a little loopy in about 30 minutes. Hi, man. You like that one, eh? But then when am I not loopy, I guess, was the question.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, it happens to the best of us. I had to go change my hat. That was uncomfortable.
Now, Brandi,
you know how
I
you got
just noticed-
your favorite hats, you know?
Yes. Oh, yeah, I know. You got a plethora of them. Pick up your right arm. Is that a bruise or do you have a tattoo that I've never seen?
That's a tattoo.
Oh, wow. That's cool. I like that. Well, it looks pretty cool. I was
Sorry.
wondering, man, you know, you got beat up over the weekend out in the woods, right? I was about to say, is that an ass? Looks from here now, I seen it's a tattoo. Very nice.
Heck no. I'm Laura Croft.
Yeah, you damn right you are. With blonde hair. The Swiss Miss, Laura Croft.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
don't
kind
think
of
you're.
missed what
I
y'all
don't
were
think
talking about.
it's okay. There's always replay. We were talking toward the end about a little mind speed, questioning certain things. We're talking about the stick being dragged, Nick getting the something at the back of his tent, the heat, the thermal imagery. That's three of the things that I can remember. And
Yeah.
then we
Okay.
were just going over to high strangeness. And now
All
Tex
right.
is busy at work. He's got his head down. He's writing some stuff down. I can't wait.
I got folks, and look, I'm gonna read a couple of things, and then I'm gonna respond to them. I'm not gonna. Okay. I was talking about finding a comfortable spot to talk about your stuff, and we've always here on the porch tried to be that place, right? We try not to judge anybody, and we get something like this. I'm not mad at you. I get it, and I'm going to tell you why I get it. Well, you won't find that place here. It's not the question. It's no matter what someone shows or what someone tells. Well, you're still going to say if you haven't seen it, I can't say it happened, so why bother? All right. Look, I'm not going to tell you it didn't happen. I fully believe that it happened. I'm not going to call you a liar. All I'm saying is you've got to be prepared to be asked questions. Folks, y'all have got to remember that I've been through this myself. I came out of the proverbial Bigfoot closet at work several years ago because I looked at it like, you know what? I'm setting my career. I'm 50 something years old. What the hell do I care what other people think? The exact things I get told at work, I'm going to tell you two of them. And I've been told it over and over and over since I've done that. You live in a fantasy world. Every word that comes out of your mouth is a liar. My credibility was just about shot. Folks, I've worked at where I worked for 16 within years. And now they want to tell me that just because they don't like one of my hobbies. Don't tell me I don't understand what you're going through. I do. That's why I refuse to judge anybody. But I will question things because I want to learn. And that's what I'm trying to do. And if you're going to shut down when I start asking questions about something I have never experienced, we're not going to learn anything. Don't get all defensive when I start questioning stuff. I'm just trying to learn. Okay? That's all. I question my stuff that happens to me all the time. I come over here and I tell y'all, what I've experienced, my stories. You don't think I get beat up over that? Believe me, I do. By a lot of people. Y'all are lucky. We have a great group in chat that won't drag you through the mud for the most part. And if we do catch somebody dragging somebody through the mud, we won't let it stand. What you're going to do here is if you want to disagree with somebody, we encourage that. If you disagree, to voice your opinion, but you damn well better do it respectfully. So don't come in here and tell me that it does no good to not tell your stuff because you're just going to get dismissed. You're not getting dismissed. You're being questioned. And there's a hell of a difference, folks. I love each and every one of you. This is why we do what we do. And when we go out of the way to put it out there that we don't care what's happened to you, what you've experienced, what you believe, or whatever, we're not going to be those people that say you're full of shit, that say you're a liar, that say you're crazy. Because we all know better, because we've been through the damn same thing. So don't turn it back on us and say that we're doing what that, you know. But you've got to let us question stuff. You've got to. We're not attacking you. I'm sorry. I got my feathers ruffled. Damn it. Because that is one of the key things that I wanted to do with this channel when I created it. Okay, and I don't use the I word very much because it's a we here, and you can ask anybody on my team. Everybody has the same amount of say. We have meetings about shit when we make big decisions. By God, we all have our input on it. Okay. God, I hate talking like this. But that was one of the main driving forces against about doing what we're doing, getting the crew that we got together, because we're all open minded. But we can not. Members of our crew don't have the same beliefs.
That is true.
That's
we're
right,
not that
Tex.
place for you, then move. You know what? If we're not that place for you, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you, and good luck finding a better spot. I'm sorry. I really am, and I'm sorry I got my feathers ruffled, but damn it, that hurt.
Yeah, I back you 100%, Tex. What have we been saying? And I don't know, whatever the comment was, but what have we been preaching since I've been here 2 years now? We always tell everybody this is the safest place you can come to. I don't care what your story
Thank
is
you,
or not.
Anella.
You're not, and thank you also to Be Kind. Be Kind, Ananella. Thank you.
Thank you, Big
This
Kind. I
is
didn't see that. Thank you.
thanks for coming in and listening to us, and we listen to you open-mindedly. And we know that people get ridiculed. We know people get judged. But again, just to reiterate what Tex says, we've been doing this for 2 years, and we tell this probably 3 times a week, if not more. So if that's gone over anybody's head, then yeah, your ears are shut. They're not open, and you're not needed, like Tex said. And I back you on that, because we say it daily. I say it daily. So anybody that thinks otherwise, they've been watching the wrong channel, or perhaps you've been watching with your eyes and mouth and eyes and ears shut. So, Tex, that's good you did that, because it has to be reiterated. We're not that channel. We welcome all things. Hell, I'm the guy that says, Rob believes in everything. Rob got that story because he believes that the moon visited him in the darkness. It came out of his swimming pool and told him it was Jesus. I probably wouldn't believe that, but
I think the worst thing that somebody had ever said to me was that if I spent more time chasing after God as I do in the paranormal, I'd live a better life. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unhear what you've heard. And let me tell you, God is my number one, first and foremost. He is my spiritual armor in no matter what situation I end up in. So for somebody to say something like that doesn't know me at all. So I just kind of dismiss it. I'm just like, you know what? I hope you live a good life, because I am. No matter what you say, I am. I'm chasing truth. That's all I'm doing.
I'll put it this way, Brandi. Oh man, I'm fixing to piss a lot of people off.
That's all right. You piss me off on a daily. Go ahead.
No, that's true. I'm a Christian, folks. I'm a God-fearing man. I ain't a saint. But I'll tell you one damn thing, I don't have to hide behind him either.
Right.
Hope that didn't come across too crass.
Well, not particularly. I find nothing wrong with that because people do hide behind their faith and things. And now we don't want to do a Jason McLean show, but people hide and people hide behind everything, right? And I think the moral of this entire story is, if you're a guest on this show, you're welcome. If you have a comment in chat, you're welcome to your experience or your comments, right? As long as they're respectful, as you said. And we open differing opinions. People can believe what they want to believe, but it's about having that open mind and here to learn. A lot of people said, no, Tex, we're here to learn. And yeah, we are here to learn. Just like you, Tex, just said, hey, I want to learn about this mind speak. Everybody claims they can do it, but it ain't happened to me. So you're not even saying anything negative. You just want to know. You want to know. You seek answers. We seek answers in everything. I only do this to seek answers and to help other people. And again, we're here to help others, and we're here to learn ourselves. Because if it wasn't that, I wouldn't do this at all. And I could be doing something else right now. But I'm here for the folks and for you guys too, and our team. So,
well, we sat around and had this conversation.
Oh my gosh! Oh my god!
I mean, this was hours that we sat there, and we sat there, and I don't think anybody got up and left and went anywhere. Nope. I mean, that was it. And we had a conversation, and you could tell that not everybody agreed with what everybody said, but it was done in such a way that respect was given.
Yeah.
And we're all trying to learn. Just because these experiences haven't happened to you doesn't mean they haven't happened.
Exactly. The one thing that came out, I say the one thing, one of the things that came out of that conversation, and man, I wish we had Ranger and Jason here.
Yeah.
Is that, and I'm going to try to remember how they put it, is one of the issues is, and this is a very complicated statement, and it's hard not to get offended by it. But it's true. Okay. Now, everybody count, and this is us included. Okay. You've got, there's Ranger. And I hope I get this right. If I don't, let me know, Ranger. There's Nicholas. God, that hair.
man, look at that.
I know. It's just
very, gosh darn, dude. Wow.
Jeez Louise.
Wish I was 25 again.
Oh gosh. I'll continue the conversation. Oh my gosh.
Now, so what it was the experiences that you're having. You may not be having. And
thanks, Anella.
So much. But you believe you're having them. I think I've got that right. And because we don't know, folks, you got to remember, we don't know all there is to know about what's going on up in here. We don't know if what we're seeing and how we're interpreting it is actually what we're seeing. If that makes any sense to you. And I know it's complicated. It really is. But And I was like, what the? And when they first said, I'm like, what the hell you mean I don't know what I'm saying? But then you get to think about it, and that's what you've got to do, folks. You've got to let yourself if you get offended by something that we say when we're questioning stuff, I want you to do me a favor. Pump the brakes, sit back, and go, let me look at this from the other side of it. And let me tell you, folks, that's tough to do. Because you got to move your ego. You gotta kick its ass out of the way. And that is not
Absolutely.
easy for any human. But I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that you're not experiencing something. Okay. And another thing that I'm gonna say. I believe that you believe that you experienced exactly what you're telling me. Doesn't mean you're a liar. But it means that there may be another level that you're not looking at. I can't tell you what it is because we don't understand this, much less this. We don't. So anyway, there it is. Thank you for letting me rant. Maggie, thank you very much.
Thank you, Maggie.
Y'all are being so generous. Thank you so much. Y'all don't realize how much this shit humbles me. I mean, and if you don't believe how embarrassed I get when crap like this happens, ask Brandi.
It happens. And it's so funny because you just watch him. He's just, he's like, you think he's like, I don't know, big and burly. And then all of a sudden the teddy bear comes out. The teddy bear comes out. That's all I can describe it as. I mean, this last weekend has shown me a lot. I mean, did I find out anything or see anything that I can say, yes, it's that? Absolutely not.
Yep.
But did I see a lot of things that I will always question and probably question the rest of my life? Yes. So, I mean, when people come on here and tell their stories, I'm sitting there going, I've been right in that same spot.
Yeah. And what do you do with it?
Yeah.
Because but see, and that's what's great. This is a safe circle for us too. We know y'all are not gonna judge us no more than we judge you. And that's why we feel comfortable coming on here and talking to y'all about what's going on. So, yeah. But I'm not going to let nobody beat you up in chat. Somebody starts being disrespectful, you can bet your ass they're going to have me to deal with. It ain't going to be the teddy bear either. I guarantee you that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, our little brood wrenches will take care of it before I even get a chance to address it.
Right.
So that was very nicely said, Tex. I think you speak for the entire team and yourself personally. I rather enjoyed that. And I back it. I back you 100%. And so, Nick, thanks for joining.
Thanks for the invite. I was half joking when I said it, but I was like,
you ought to know better than that. I'll fire one off if you start whining.
So, yeah, it was kind of cool, Nick, because Tex was telling your story about what happened to you with the tent outside of your tent, which was, probably a little hair-raising. Why don't you? What did you think it was? You said you thought it might have been a boar, or you just had no idea. Were your drawers getting a little tight?
I mean, it was hot enough so they weren't really on anyway. So I mean,
Yeah, there you go.
that
Hey,
that
Donnie,
wasn't nothing
thanks,
to
Donnie.
worry about. That wasn't my worry. It was obviously wild pigs are a worry. You know, I've had them get pretty close, but they're loud, right? So I threw the "it's a wild boar" out the door pretty quick, just because Tex knows just as well as I know. If those were wild boars running around, we would have known about 10 minutes before whatever it is touched and started sniffing around. So
Yeah.
I threw the boar theory out the door personally. You know,
Yeah,
I,
9 times
I
out of 10, damn pigs ain't that quiet.
no. So, and they don't tend to walk on what seems to sound bipedal, you know. And if they're gonna
Oh,
run where you're at, they're gonna go through the tent. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it was a wild boar, in my opinion, off of
Yeah,
at
they're
least
not
what
going
I
to be that
know.
gentle. They're not going to
No,
be that
no.
gentle. Mm-mm.
If it smelt something in there it wanted, it would have said, "Hey, I'm coming in. Be ready." Right? So that's
Yeah.
not what I think it was. Bears, I'm not too worried about. You know, black bears, they tend to be a little more skittish. You know, the boars would scare me more, but we all have our kind of theories on what it could be. I hear something large, bipedal walking through the woods with no flashlights coming out of the thick stuff that I wouldn't dream my enemy walking through. I'm going to assume it's Sasquatch. You know, then again, what we were talking about when we were there, we were saying the worry with that is you're going to find what you're looking for. You know, if you're out deer hunting, you hear
Yeah.
something moving in the brush, you go, it's the biggest buck ever. So, you know, you hear something bipedal walk through the woods and you're out there to look for these Bigfoot beings or whatever it is. I'm going to assume it's that personally, you know, like that's the only thing that makes sense in my head that I was hearing. So,
I'm going to have to say
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Um, from what I heard, I wouldn't say it was on four legs. I would not. I
I
would
didn't
not.
hear, yeah, I didn't hear much on four legs out there at all that
No,
whole trip, honestly.
no, no.
I just read a comment on one of our other shows. Rusty Lewis, great show. Brandy in a cowboy hat. That will make a little dog break a big chain.
Oh my goodness, that's the best one I've heard in a while.
yeah, I like that.
It was
I
so
think we need
funny
to put
though.
that somewhere.
Yeah,
Need to put it up as best quote of the week.
yeah. It was so funny though when she and I didn't even notice it really until we got out to the cemetery and she started walking up. She started walking up the trail, and and I ain't figured this one out yet. She's wearing yoga pants, hiking boots,
Oh,
and
They're actually fishing pants, and I did that for the tick reason. If you
right,
would have
right.
noticed, I had those on, and then I had my high socks over my pants. Then I had my boots on top of that. I'm like, nothing's getting up these pants. I no ticks. No,
And then
no.
she had this tactical holster slung down her thigh
Yeah,
and a ponytail pulled out of the back of a ball cap.
it was Laura
yeah.
Croft. I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
I'm telling you, and
Yeah.
you didn't want to hear it when we first said it. You were like, ah, rah, rah, rah. But
I did
I'm telling
not.
you, me and Nick looked at each other and we were like, oh my God, you look like a damn blonde Laura Croft. It was funny as hell.
Well, it's kind of like it's always my thing is whenever I go into location, for ghosts and things like that, is we always wear black clothing because when on camera, if you're wearing white or bright clothing, it has a tendency to mess with the camera where won't focus in the dark. And so I'm telling you, 99% of my clothes are black. That just tells you what I do. Everywhere I go, it's black. Got to wear black.
So I want to ask Brandi and then Nick, because I know I don't need to ask Tex, because you guys, well, no, Brandi, this is your first time that you were there. What was your overall impressions?
I was not prepared for everything that had happened. You know, I thought, okay, we're going to be outside. We're going to be in the woods. I'm going to hear animals. You know, the same old. Everywhere I go, I expect these animals, and that I did not expect the spirit side of it. And I guess my fear of hogs has now gone to an all-time high, because when we were down in there walking around, I could see where they were rooting in the ground and where they were bedding down at night. And I'm like, geez, these things are close. These things can kill you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm glad I'm staying in a hotel.
I tried to get you to stay in the tent.
Well, you know, the other ladies were going to go for that. And, you know, I mean, that's fine. I can primitive camp. That's okay. But honestly, when you guys were out there and hearing those things walking around camp, I couldn't imagine myself in a tent alone hearing it.
Yeah.
Even when you guys are not very far apart. I just couldn't imagine doing it.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I already saw what's out there. I already saw it. And I'm like, oh, no. And thanks to Ranger X, I'm terrified of hogs. Terrified.
Yeah, we can't talk about that story, by the way, just so y'all know.
Yeah, we can't talk about it. So
not until he gets ready, because that will tell a lot of people who he is.
Right.
So
and it's just, it's just,
process.
you know, and then with Nick telling me, you know, their mannerisms out there, and he's all, yeah, that's where they were. You know, they were here just recently, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, really, Nick? Are you kidding me?
It's casual to me. You know, Tex knows how I'm out there looking for these things at least once or twice a week. And I got them walking up in my camp, you know, I've got them charging at me and everything. It's like, to me, I kind of just take it nonchalantly, but I guess to the untrained eye, you're like, what in the world is going on here? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, I'm from Michigan originally, and then, you know, I'm living in Missouri now. I guess that was never, you know, a real big problem my whole entire life, basically, with hogs and stuff like that, because we didn't have them.
Right.
No, we don't. And I'm gonna get to Nick in a minute. And Brandi, I was just thinking, I mentioned this, you weren't here, you were, you know, away, and I was telling Tex, boy, you're going to Brown Springs, you're hell anywhere to do some research, and you're in the wilderness. And now me, you know, yeah, it's bad. It's actually, you're looking for a cryptid. Let's say just Sasquatch, and you know, maybe there's paranormal around. Maybe we're in Brown Springs. That's a challenge in itself, where I'm not really going to be like worried. But to worry about the hogs, I mean, I just was watching the show because I think these hogs are that bad. Because I just thought, how bad can a pig be? So I started watching some YouTube videos about hogs. I got to tell you what, man. No, thank you.
Right.
No, thank you to that.
Right.
I mean, I'll go camping and I'll go sleep in the tent. Yes, but I'm just saying that Sasquatch ain't gonna scare me. It's those hogs running around my tent at night. That's what's gonna scare me, because they'll eat you.
Yeah.
Well, they're gouge you.
Yeah.
They're gory. I mean, I've seen some gory stuff on YouTube, and it's not like, it's even kind of like that movie I was watching. Did they feed people to hogs in one of those The Killer with Jodie Foster, but not that one, where they were
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. Hannibal Lecter, yeah.
Yeah. Because they'll eat everything.
And they eat everything. Talk
there
about
was a
disposing of evidence.
serial killer. There was a serial killer, and that's what he did with his victims.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Tex, do you remember the name of that one? Because I heard about that one.
They called him the Pig Man, and I can't remember his real name, but yeah, that's what he would do.
So Rob,
Yeah.
I've scouted out the hotels, so when you come to Brown Springs, I got a few that we can pick and choose from.
Well, I don't want to sound like a little wimp now in front of everybody. I mean, I'll sleep in the tent.
No,
You
I'm
hear these
just gonna
people,
Actually,
flat
Tex?
out say it.
Oh
we
my
should
gosh.
actually
I'll
go
sleep in
boar
my
hunt.
car. I will sleep in my car. Now, I will stay out there, but I will sleep in my car. I will not sleep in a tent because if I were Nick, I would have freaked out right there. If my life depended on me being quiet at that point, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
I'd have been
probably.
jumping around going, I don't know what this is. And the thing you want to do out there is you want to be quiet. You want to hear what it is. But when they're sitting there telling me they cannot explain it,
Yeah.
that they didn't see it, and I was like, oh man, I'm sleeping in my car. That's it. I'm bringing my Jeep next time. We're camping out in it.
Yeah, I agree. I would now. What I would like to have in Texas is a big old pig roast, right? That's what they don't eat regular pigs. I'm sure it's boar, right? Wild hogs, what you do,
Me
or is it pig?
personally, yeah, I got plenty of them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
sure.
The average person, Tex can
Yeah.
attest to this. Not a lot of people actually. We need more people to come out here pig hunting. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
many of these things.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the only one out in my area doing it, so I'm like,
Yeah.
I know I'm not the only one who's got thousands of acres, and I'm the only one out there.
So
Yeah.
I got to ask you too, Nick, because I know you're a researcher. You're out, like you say, you're out there a couple of times a week, different locations in Texas. What's different to you? You've been to Brown Springs, I think, more than once now. If correct me if I'm wrong. I know for sure once this past weekend. What's different about this spot for you than any other place you've been? Is it a vibe? What's going on?
I've been there. This is my second time. We were gonna go out there and we were gonna spend, I think, even longer last time. So weather wasn't as hot. We were gonna spend, I think, 4 nights, 5 days, something like that. We were gonna go out there for quite a while, but we got, like a really bad storm had rolled in after we spent one night. Then that next day, a really bad storm rolled in. So we decided, be safe than sorry. You know what I mean? Like, let's just pack it out. And I've been to some weird areas. I had that area, Tex well knows, 377 out there. And I'd say it's the only place I've been that kind of reminds me of that area that I've been to ever. Then again, I haven't been, the scenery. I think that's a big part of it is similar type of, very thick, mature timber. Looks like a jungle around this time of year to where you can barely even hike out places. So, I mean, it was very reminiscent of that. Yeah. So that was the only place I could, I connected dots. And then actually, hearing things walking around at nighttime, I was like, I haven't heard this in a while. You know what I mean? Because I haven't been out in these areas for at least probably closer to 2 years. So I finally heard this walking around again. I used to be out there miles back by myself, and here I am, scared out of my mind. You know what I mean? Sitting here and I can go run to the car if I wanted to. You know what I mean? It's I guess I've been out of it for a little while. You know what I mean? So it's just a little unnerving to have this happening again, and especially in such a dark area, and the vibe is definitely there. Every time I drive by that cemetery, I tell them that place just creeps me out, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think you called it 100% when we pulled in and you said, you might have to take me back to camp.
Oh, I was trying to make a nonchalant joke, but I wasn't joking. I think they knew I wasn't joking either. Because the moment we pulled in there, I went, oh, gosh, what did I get myself into? I was like, I knew I should have stayed at camp. But then again, if you want to experience these types of phenomenon, you have to overcome those feelings of this might feel a little off. And it's feelings that if I was out there in the woods by myself, I would just get up and leave, right? Because that is self-preservation kind of at that point. That's how I kind of view it. You're miles out by yourself. You got to rely on you to get yourself back home safe at the end of the day. Because that's all of our goals at the end of the day, right? We all want to get out of there safe, but you also want to experience things. And that kind of goes counterintuitive to each other. So, but having a group of people made me feel a lot more comfortable. You know what I mean? So I want to experience the phenomenon. So I thought, oh gosh, I got to push through this feeling to get through this. But I'd say it's worth it just to have been up there and saw and heard and experienced what was happening up there.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, for me going up to a cemetery, I'm like, I have done this many, many, many times. So, I mean, it wasn't a big deal. It was the other elements that are roaming around in there that threw me off. So when I arrived, I mean, that was normal for me to have those feelings and those things because it's for me. I always feel them when I go to cemeteries. But I was feeling also something off. It wasn't something that I'm used to when I'm going to a cemetery. So I felt the same way as you did, Nick. I'm not going to lie about it. I mean, I was kind of hesitant going, am I making the right choice here? I'm not sure. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm like, well, Tex is with me. What can go wrong?
exactly. Well, the thing with the
everything.
feeling is we had gone up there last time at nighttime. Remember, Tex, that last trip we made out there at night, we went up to the cemetery at about what, midnight, 1 in the morning
Yeah,
around.
something like that.
It was just felt like normal woods. I didn't get any sort of like off-putting feelings or nothing. It was just like, even Tex said something about like that is the most normal it's ever felt. Just felt like you're
Right.
running around the woods at nighttime like I do all the time. But that night we went up there this, past weekend, that was not a normal walking around the woods at night feeling. Like at least to me.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I'm not the only one that was sitting there like, what in the world did we get into?
Yeah. Well,
Well, the thing about
like,
it is,
like,
and I've said this before, and I think what you just said is a perfect way to, you know, kind of validates what I said earlier. Is the vibe of that place changes, not on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, and that's being generous. I mean, you can literally go up there during the day, or even early at night, or whatever, or even late at night, and be just, okay, cool, and then you go up there, you go back to camp, grab you a bite to eat, whatever, come back, and what's going on? What's changed? Because it's hinky.
yeah.
And
Well, I
yeah,
felt that just by making a loop around it. We made one loop, and by the time we got back around, everything had changed already. The whole
yeah,
atmosphere, the almost like the humidity, the pressure, the everything that you can think of changed. And I can't explain it. I can't because there's something
well,
like
and
natural and supernatural, and it it's like everything wrapped into one in that one particular spot.
yeah,
And it's
it's
amazing.
weird.
It's amazing. And not to
And the thing
mention,
about it
Tex, you
is,
bring all the craziness with you. They know you. And that's my theory is they know you there. They've seen you
yeah,
there. They're used to you. So I have a tendency to go to places with people who've been there a lot because it's like the things there know them.
right.
So it's like if something's going to happen, I'm going with them because it's going to happen to them, you know. And that's exactly what happened to us, I think.
Well, and I'll tell you, the only thing that we really experienced that I've never experienced before up there was one, finding the whole hoodoo voodoo thing, um, and the little dancing blob.
The blob.
Yeah, but I don't use a thermal imaging thing, so there's no telling how many I've walked right by or kicked out of the way. I mean, but
Exactly. And with
that
it
was
not
interesting.
being visible, yeah, it wasn't visible to the naked eye. So
Yeah,
that was really something.
Yeah, and I was going to ask Brandy. I asked Tex, Brandy, you weren't here earlier about that, and that was in the cemetery area. And just because it's a cemetery, I don't want to say I don't believe in the coincidence theory, but you think that maybe that was a more of a spiritual nature than Because we just started talking about too that we're thinking maybe the Bigfoot in that area are spirit guides or some of these trapped spirits that are in the cemetery, right? That it maybe they are their friends. I mean, we came up with all these. Tex has some pretty cool theories, and I started piggybacking off of him, and it just seems like it's just a manifestation of everything, So
Well,
my question, I
yeah.
guess, long story short, was: do you think that maybe that was more of a person from the cemetery, from a past life, when it comes to these things?
I can't say. This one was tough.
Okay.
When you see like a spiritual manifestation or something, you can usually see it. It's visible to you. Because when it starts going, it's like when you see orbs. That's what they call it, an energy manifestation. So this thing was putting off heat, but it wasn't visible.
Yep.
So this is beyond anything that I've ever dealt with. This is way off my, way off my spectrum of knowledge. It's just like I have no idea. Because
Well, my
Nick showed
question.
me. He's like, look. He showed me
Yep.
through the thermal. He's like, it's there. It's right there. And I look and I'm like, it is? And then we're looking with the flashlights, everything else. There's nothing there.
Yep.
So could it have been spiritual? Absolutely. Did it have to do with the cemetery? Maybe. But that whole place is like that.
Yeah.
All of Brown Springs is like that. So could that have happened anywhere? Yeah, I think so.
Well, and to me, it raised a couple of questions. One being, how many times have y'all been out on ghost hunts or whatever you want to call them, investigations? And that's happened, and you didn't even realize they were around because you weren't using a thermal imager.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
And two, we know that it wasn't an animal. We know that.
It didn't look
And-
even remotely like an animal.
And three, it moved with intelligence because it avoided me. I mean, not that you
It
have to
didn't
be
want.
very
It didn't
intelligent.
want to be that far from you, though.
No, it didn't. It didn't like run
it
away
didn't.
or nothing. It just kept us
No.
like a comfortable distance.
Right.
And then after I moved back, it moved right back where it was.
Yep.
And then it just kind of dissipated and went away. That's y'all's bag of toys, not mine. So
Well, that's the reason
Yeah.
I kind of went up there, was because I was like, I brought this thermal scope with me. I was like, I got to try it out on something. I thought,
yeah.
I think this is the place to bring the dang thing. And also, I didn't have a flashlight. I don't know if they told you, Rob. They put the guy that was in the back of the group without a flashlight. So I'm following everyone up in these dark woods, and I got just darkness behind me, and I got no flashlight, right? I'm like, obviously. I was like, so I got to have
geez.
something, right? So I got the thermal scope, maybe feel a little better. But I was looking around. We didn't see nothing up there. No wildlife, no anything.
There's nothing. Nothing.
See, that to me is odd. Because Tex, almost every time I've talked to you about this for 2-3 years now, however long it's been, and you never really mention much outside of the tiger. I never really hear much about wildlife
Oh,
out
yeah,
there.
there's that, Rob. There's that here, too.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So, yeah, sleeping in our car, that's what I'm doing. I'm not sleeping in the tent.
You can't have, but the thing about it is, you can't sleep in your car and have the experiences like we're having. You just can't do it because it dampens the sound, and you may not pick. And those experiences are awesome. They just really are. I mean, sitting there listening to. Depends what you believe it is.
I'll crack my windows. I'll crack my windows.
Well, even the tent would dissipate sound a little bit. Like part of me was wishing I had some sort of
Right.
way to record audio outside of the tent, in between our tents somewhere right there. Because that to me would have been the best audio recorded in a while. You know what I mean? But it's just even the tent, because anytime I would move or I would slightly move my hand, you would hear that because I'm in an enclosed kind of environment.
Right.
As if I was just on a
Right.
cot out in the open, I would have caught audio that was crazy. You know what I mean? So it's right.
I
Well, I
think
think,
Scott,
oh,
you
go
guys
ahead.
really quickly. This Scott's been asking this. I think he might have caught it a little late. Did the thermal show with that thermal? Was it hot or cold? I forgot what you guys
Hot.
told me.
Hot.
Hot.
Okay.
Hot.
Clearly,
Yeah, like black, super
Yeah.
hot.
Okay.
yeah. When people see the video, they'll see a comparison. I have a comparison video of some rabbits out in the field, and then a comparison video of this, and I kind of have it put together, and it's like a little minute or so video. That'll explain a little better what we were seeing. You know what I mean? So
I think that maybe next time hooking an audio device outside somewhere, maybe even pulling up a chair next to your tent, laying a device on that and just letting it roll all night. I mean, I hate listening to hours and hours of audio. I really do. I mean, I can't tell you how many nights I listen to myself snore. I mean, it just happens. But there's always that one chance that you might catch it. So, always got to do that.
Hey, Brandy, was this thing like the old-fashioned ectoplasm?
The
I'm gonna
same
say
color as the pictures of it.
I'm gonna say it might have been. It sounds like it, but it was hot. It was hot. Which
Do we
is
know what
very, very
temperature
odd.
ectoplasm is, though?
Mm.
I mean,
I've
do we
just
know
never,
what temperature?
ectoplasm is just another what we experienced. It's a blob. It's a blob of spiritual activity. It's a blob.
Some
I
kind of
mean,
energy.
I've seen it. I've seen it. It's a blob of energy. I've seen it. But I've never seen it that hot.
Yeah, because it
And
was. It was.
yeah, it was hot. And, I don't know. It could have been. Like I said, it could have been.
I don't know what it was.
mean, I don't. I can't say. I can't.
Hell, it could have been swamp gas.
We were a little high up there for
Could have
swamp
been
gas,
my
but it could
gas.
have been.
now that one ain't off the table, all right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Could have been my gas. Hell, I don't.
No, you weren't even over there. You weren't even over there, so it wasn't your gas. We'll just call it Nick's
CD
gas.
Squatcher said she's got some great audio from down there in Brown Springs too. So, and CD Squatcher is, well, she asked what I did. Is ectoplasm always cold? I don't know. I've never armadillo gas, Scott. That is a very good possibility.
We didn't even see.
Gas.
We didn't even see an animal in the cemetery.
Mm-mm.
Not one. Not a squirrel. Not a possum. Not a raccoon. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is odd.
See, that's creepy.
Yeah, there. It wasn't. I mean, you could hear.
Yeah.
Like bugs, crickets, frogs. But I don't know if they were in the cemetery. I don't.
The bug cricket thing is weird because I was listening back some of that audio, to try to see what I could and couldn't hear, right? And it was dead silent when we started hearing that walk in. You can see a clear difference of just nothing on those audio, in that first audio. And then there's other audios I took where I was just recording just to record. And it just sounds like, you hear the crickets and the bugs, but there's like that noticeable difference of just dead silence when these things are walking around. So.
And it seems like every time that they would, right before they would start, as far as the footsteps and all that kind of stuff goes, barred owls would cook off really hot. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering because the barred owls, when they really get to arguing or whatever they're doing or having a threesome, I don't know what they're doing, but they make a noise that sounds like a monkey chatter. Okay.
Mhm.
And I was talking to Ranger about this, and I said, what if that is not always barred owls, but it is these Bigfoot Sasquatch creatures using the barred owls that are around the humans to be able to communicate and not be caught? Because we all know that that's a natural sound.
Mhm.
But if they can imitate it, but it means something to them, and they can do it when we have barred owls around, because I think the calls that you hear that everybody talks about that, well, that owl sounded sick or mentally challenged or whatever, or this, it's like the whippoorwill that we caught on one of the trips out there when Jason and Ranger were sitting there talking, and it sounded like a whippoorwill, but it didn't sound like a whippoorwill that was very well or right in the head.
Right.
And I think the calls that we hear that are not right, I think that's the juveniles. And I think that's them practicing. Because I think when these things get old enough and they get good at this, we can't tell the difference unless we put a spectrum. If we're lucky, we put a spectrometer on it and we can look at the difference in the frequencies between what we know is an owl and what we think might not be an owl. And I think that might be the only reason. And they might be matching their frequency. I don't know. But I think that's the only way we're going to find out if we've got something else out there. So what we need to
Yeah,
do
because
is,
they were, what we considered were the owls out there were very vocal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
and they do sound
more
like
than
monkeys when they
usual.
get to go
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
So
that's a good. That's possible. That they're using things that we as people are used to hearing,
right,
and mimicking that to not bring attention to themselves. That sounds good. Yeah,
Well,
I can believe that.
There's some sort of connection between the owls and the bipedal walking. I noticed that. I went up told Tex on, because you could hardly miss it. You know what I mean? If you're sitting there listening to it, there's something between the bipedal walking. It would start right after we heard these barred owls going off in the trees right next to us, and there was a couple that sounded way louder than the other. We were hearing barred owls, but there's a couple sounds on that audio that's like, there's a big old owl right there, you know what I mean? And then by chance there would be bipedal walking at about the same time. So there's a noticeable connection between the barred owl sounds, like almost as if they were like following whatever was walking around. It was just odd.
I guess you would have to pay attention to it, because you were talking about some of them were louder at times, and it was louder, when the footsteps were coming. That might go back to what Tex was thinking, that they're using that as communication.
Yeah, and CD Squatcher says, "Hey, Tex," she says, "when we came down from the cemetery, we had owls sounding off Sasquatch, and that's what that's what we think. That's one thing, and this is one thing that we look at when we hear owls that we consider may not be an owl, because they tend not to have a trill at the end of the call, and we think, well, maybe that's not an owl, maybe that's them, so." Yeah, it's very possible, but I think that it's still think that that's possibly the juveniles, because I think when they get good enough at it, we won't be able to tell, like you said, unless we can see the frequency, and even then, I don't know. So,
Hey, Tex, I'm gonna have you let you close this out because I got to run and take care of something here.
all right, brother, I get you covered.
Hey, good seeing you, Nick. Brandy.
seeing you,
good
Bye,
dude.
Rob.
seeing-
We'll see ya.
Yeah, I got to take care of this right quick. But anyways, thanks to everybody in chat. Before I go, thanks to Scott, Be Kind, Anella times 2, Maggie, and Donnie for your super chats. BMR's got to take care of some business. Love you all. Thanks. Great show. See you later, Tex.
All
man.
right.
Later,
Bye.
Tex.
See ya.
So, anyway,
So now that we've taken over Rob's show,
yeah, right. We've pirated his show, so we're good.
that's it. It's
Well,
pretty
I
bad
know,
when you do that.
you're not long for this either because it is your bedtime, your official bedtime.
It is. But I got like a 3-hour power nap. So when you called and I was like disoriented and I'm like waking up and then I'm like, okay, I'll go back to sleep. You told me to go back to sleep. I'm going to go back to sleep. No, because then I started thinking about everything that had happened and I'm like, no, I'm not going back to sleep.
Well, you're a grown ass woman. You can go back. You can go to bed whenever you want. I mean,
That's right. That's right. It's something else. Excuse me. Something else along the lines of them using the owls. We heard the coyotes a lot.
oh yeah.
Do you think they could possibly be using that as
Oh, yeah.
as signaling too? Because we would hear them in like one spot, and the next minute we'd hear another pack over here, and then we'd hear another pack over here. It sounds like they were almost surrounding us in a way.
Well, they do. They do.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering if that also could be them.
It very well could be. That's just it. I think they get so good at this, mimicking stuff that it's very hard to tell if at all.
Yeah, it's like Chris and I were in the LBL, and I heard a whistle, and she listened back to it, and she said, that just sounds like another bird. I said, it doesn't sound like a bird I ever heard.
Right.
And everything that I had been listening to for the last 30 minutes, this was one whistle that was off.
Right.
It just didn't sound like any of the rest of them. It sounded like, I don't know, like you said, like it would be sick. It just didn't sound exactly right.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about getting the tree knocks at that same time, same place. So that makes me wonder. I think you're right.
Yeah. The more I think about the tree knocks, I'm leaning towards what a lot of people are talking about now, that I don't think it's tree knocks. I think it's a sound that they're making with some part of their body. They're either, popping their mouth or something like that. I don't know. I just can't see. It's hard unless they pick out a stick and carry it around with them like these Bigfoot researchers do, a Louisville Slugger type thing, and walk around and find a decent tree to hammer it against. I don't know. It's just a lot of too many variables there, because you can't just walk around and just pick up a tree limb and it not just completely shatter and hardly make any noise. When you hit it that hard against a tree.
Well, and you could possibly be right. We as humans, there is a language, I believe it's in Africa, where they do use a popping of their tongue to communicate. This is part of their language.
Yeah.
So could they be using that? And because of their bone structure, it is echoing.
Very well could be. Very well could be. I mean, that's just it. We don't know. Because if you look at, and I know, if you look at like the great apes, the gorillas and stuff like that, they do stuff like that. A lot of the noises that we hear that we think are footfalls or think that are wood knocks, are, I think, maybe them slapping the ground or stomping the ground. Because,
And we're just hearing them, and we're just calling it that because of, I guess, lack of knowledge.
Yeah, well,
we don't know.
It just makes more sense to us. We automatically go to a wood knot because, they're hitting a tree. That's what it sounded like.
That's what it sounded like, right? Because of our lack of knowledge, because nobody knows.
Right. We're not just dealing with apes. I mean, and I'm not saying they're apes, folks. Don't go there. Don't go there. But if they're able to make these noises with their bodies, I mean, it's like what we used to call the 500-pound woodpecker. And then Barry Brown, he was in the chat earlier. We were out there and we kept hearing this up in the cemetery. And we get home and I get a text from him that, you got to check this out. And it's a video of a silverback beating its chest, and it's had the exact cadence, the exact sound, but what we heard was just amplified 100 times. And I'm like, I'll be damned. So, and it's like, okay, here's what Duke says. Duke says there's eyewitness reports, one slapping a tree, one kicking a tree, and one doing a mouth pop. We also have some reports where it's likely a wood-on-wood impact. And I think, we get the what we call the rock clacks and everything. So,
and from a distance, it could sound exactly like a tree knock, but it isn't that.
Right. It's just that they're capable of so much that we're not aware of. I mean, part of me would love to sit there and be able to study one, but I don't want them to see them put in a cage or on a slab either.
Right.
This is
that's
the
my
only way
biggest
that
fear.
I know how to do it.
Yeah, that's my biggest fear, is that one day one of these are going to be caught some way or somehow, and I feel sorry already for what's going to happen.
Well, I think they already have.
Yeah, possible.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, guys. The government knows that they exist. I mean, they've all but admitted it, and they're not going to let something like this wander around and not have one that they've studied. Just not going to do it. Just not going to happen.
Yeah, because the first thing they do, is find something new. Oh, let's dissect it and see how it works.
Well, that's the first thing we want to do when we find something new, is either kill it or make something out of it.
Right. Yeah, you're right there.
So, unfortunately, we can't even leave damn land alone. First thing we want to do is bulldoze the shit out of it and put houses in there. And then people wonder why they got wild animals coming up in their front yard. You're in their damn living room. What the hell do you expect? Leave them alone.
Yeah. We can't even get people to pick up their own trash out there. So,
Yeah.
Doesn't that make you mad?
No. Yes, very much so.
I mean, I was always raised, it's leave it like you found it.
Leave it better than you found it. That's
true.
And that's one thing I thought about when we were out there this last time. Now, don't get me wrong. I do not want to clean up somebody else's mess. It drives me up the wall. But obviously, people are not going to clean up to themselves because their mama's not with them. So I'm going to start, when I go out there, I'm going to start, I'm going to try to go, because I usually drive around all the campsites anyway. I'm going to take
and we did.
Yeah. It's not going to hurt us to stop and pick up some trash, but some of it is just,
that's not a bad idea. Just take some trash bags out there and just, spend a half hour and pick up trash. You won't get it all, but at least it's better than what it was.
Yeah. That is true. That is true.
It's just too thick this time of year to. Because I remember when we went last time, it wasn't as thick. It was still kind of more of that like wintertime woods type
Yeah.
of, and you could see so much trash. I was sitting here like, y'all are talking about spending half an hour. I'm like, you're gonna spend half a day, and you might be able to make a small dent around a 50-acre area. You know what I mean? There's just so much garbage out there. It's a
Yeah.
bit absurd in my opinion. You know?
Yeah.
Well,
I
I
think a
mean,
lot of it has to do with, people actually living out there, living off grid. They're living out there.
yep. That does happen. Does happen. Like what's his face? The Skinwalker dog fella, whatever he was.
The skinwalker dog fella.
Yeah. There was a tent out there, guys. I'll tell you what we're talking about. Somebody had tent pitched out there, and I don't understand pitching your tent where he had his camp set up, because he was right there on the main road. Now this main road is that white caliche gravel stuff, and Randy can attest to
Yeah.
coming down that road. It is a dust cloud and a half. You literally cannot see the car that's behind you, or if, God forbid, if you're behind us, somebody driving. And the woods on the side of the road are just coated in it. I am not pitching a tent right there on the side of that stuff and getting a mouthful of that every time. I can't. God, we were dirty enough being more than a quarter of a mile off the main road, much less being right there on it.
Yeah,
So,
it is blinding, should I say? Because
yeah,
I had to slow down following you guys because I'm like, I can't see a thing. I can't see
yeah,
nothing. And then by the time I got to camp, there was probably a half inch of dust and dirt all over my car.
yeah. Now
I said,
you
well,
did
my
have,
car was black.
yeah. Now you did, we found something kind of interesting on your car, but it wasn't Brown Springs related.
No, it was not. Now I
And
had
we haven't
found a
talked about that. We haven't talked about that because I didn't know if you wanted to talk about it but it'd be a good teaser for what y'all got coming up.
yeah. Well, I found a handprint. We're just gonna leave
Yeah,
it at that. I found a
yeah.
handprint on my car, and it wasn't mine. And I'd been the only one in my car.
And it wasn't, and it was before she went to Brown Springs.
Yep. And my car was clean before I went, and it wasn't in a parking lot. So we'll just have to go with that.
Yeah.
We'll have to leave that one because I didn't know what to do with it. I was like, wait a minute. I'm looking for Sasquatch handprints and I end up with something else. So
Yeah. At that
anyway,
time,
we'll talk about that later.
yeah, at that point, you wasn't even looking for a Sasquatch handprint. But
No.
well, we're over the 2 hour mark. Y'all want to call it?
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
let's call Rob show for him.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rob. We appreciate you. Thanks
Yeah.
for having us on.
Yeah.
Glad
I
we could
know.
come.
I know he's not feeling good at all, folks. He's not.
No, and that's probably it because he did say that he took his medication.
Well, not only that, he's sick.
Oh,
He was sitting there with the chills and feeling clammy and everything even before the show.
oh no. See, now I didn't
So
hear that part. God
yeah,
bless him.
so
Jeez.
y'all keep
Well,
him
when you're
in your
watching
prayers.
this tomorrow, Rob, get better.
Yeah. So
Just
Nick,
get better.
thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for the invite. Better late than never, right?
Well, I didn't know if
That's all
you'd
right.
want
That's
to
what
come on
happened to me.
again.
Don't
I
feel bad.
know. I'm
We
joking
showed the
with you.
party late.
Nothing wrong with it.
That's right.
Ow. All right. Well, y'all say goodnight, everybody, and I'll sign us off.
All right. Good night, everybody.
All right.